Back to our channel, and in today's video I will be demonstrating how to integrate ServiceNow with Azure DevOps using the REST API for creating work items instead of relying on the traditional Microsoft Azure DevOps integration for Agile development plugin. Now, you might be wondering why I'm using the REST API instead of the built-in integration plugin. Well, in my case, the plugin was not an option since it's a licensed feature and I wasn't able to install it on my PDI instance. But don't worry, the REST API provides a flexible and a powerful solution to achieve the same results. Now, let's walk through an example use case followed by the integration. Suppose your team is using ServiceNow to manage IT incidents and you want to automatically create corresponding tasks in Azure DevOps when the certain conditions are met. For instance, if the priority of the incident is high and the category is server or a network, a task should be created in the Azure DevOps for resolution. This integration will automate the process and ensure that the work items are created efficiently. Let's start with setting up the credential entry on ServiceNow. In order to do it, let's generate the personal access token on your Azure DevOps. Copy the token and paste it on your notepad for the future use. I am on my Azure DevOps portal and I am clicking on this user settings and personal access token. As you can see, I have already created the token. I am going to create one more token now. Let's name this as ServiceNow integration, and that is my organization ID, and I'm going to select 90 days and I'm going to give the full access to it, and I'm going to quickly copy it and paste it onto my notepad. And now let's create an entry on our instance. So let's go to the credentials module and let's create one. I'm going to click on new and I am going to select the basic auth credentials and I'm going to give a name here as Azure DevOps Authentication, and I am going to paste the token which I got it from my Azure DevOps, and our username going to be noservicenow@gmail.com. And I am going to save this record. And you might be thinking, from where did I get this username? So you will have to come to your Azure DevOps, and this is the username through which I have logged in into this Azure DevOps. So our credentials is ready. Now, now let's start with setting up the outbound REST message in ServiceNow to communicate with our Azure DevOps. For that, let's go to REST message module under the system web services under the outbound. And I have already created one for my testing, but I'm going to create it again. So it is going to be Azure DevOps Integration, and it's for the unidirectional integration. And I have my endpoint here, and I have got it from the API documentation, and I am going to attach this link to the description box below, and you can take a look at it. And this is our post method URI. So I'm going to make use of this URI. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to click on our endpoint, and you can see the organization, the project, and everything. At the moment, I do not need everything here. So I am going to quickly come back to my settings. I know that my organization is my no service now, and the project name is also no service now and AP underscore AIPS. So I'm going to remove all of them, and I'm going to select my authentication type as the basic and the one we created it. Okay, created today. Okay, I will have to see why this is not coming up here or the one we created it. It should be listed here. Let me go ahead and troubleshoot that. Okay, so we have the data here, credentials. I think I have created under the, oh, I'm sorry, I have created under a wrong table. It's a discovery underscore credential list. I'm sorry about it. So let's go ahead and correct it. I am going to delete this one while I will be creating a new one here. So it's going to be Azure integration. I will give the name as DevOps integration. My username is no ServiceNow at gmail.com, and I am going to quickly copy my token and I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to click on save. So it's ready now, and let's come here. Let's click on the basic auth and auth profile, and you can see the one which I had created. I'm going to save this record. Let's go ahead and test our REST API before creating the REST message on our instance. So I have already provided all the information here, the post URI, the parameters and the authorization, the headers, and I have added everything here, and our body is also right. So I am just going to select this as this is a API testing, and I am going to click on send. And we can see we got the 200. That means the request was successful and we have received a response too. The ID number is 21. Let's quickly go back to our Azure DevOps and let's refresh our page and click on the boards and sorry, yeah, you can see that the ID has been created with the title, whatever we gave it on our Postman. So now our REST API works. This confirms that our REST API works. So now let's come back to our instance, and we did create a REST message, and there is already a default get message which ServiceNow has created for us. Now we are going to create a post method. So I'm going to select the HTTP method as post, and I am going to select the name as create task. And I am going to quickly copy the URI and I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to, it has already inherited from the parent, it's not required, but just to make sure that it works, I have selected the authentication and I'm going to create the HTTP headers. So I'm going to come back to my post method. Let me come back to the headers. So the content type, I don't, yeah, content type, and the value has the, okay, oops, okay, let me grab that, yeah, and here we go, and the next one is authorization, and it is going to be basic space my token. Okay, we are done with that authorization and this. And if you want, we can select this accept, and I am going to select that as application slash JSON. And let's check our Postman if I have given anything else. Okay, I am good. And this is the body, the request body. I'm going to put it here and I want this to be dynamic. So I am going to use uh, the title because we are going to use this in our BR, the business rules. So description. Okay, let's go ahead and save this record. And I'm going to click on auto generate variables. And here we go. So I am going to test this REST message. Hi, this is Selva. And good. Yeah, how are you? And I'm going to click on test. Okay, we got the content type of bad request invalid error. The request is an invalid error. invalid header name. Let's go ahead and check that. Did I do anything wrong in here? Okay, so this is the authorization, isn't it? The content type is application. Okay, and let me test it. 203, and we have got some error. So every single time I test it, I get a different error. And this has been a whole lot of learning experience for me. So there is some problem with it. So let me just go ahead and check this one out. So it took a while for me to fix the issue. The issue was I had put the HTTP headers under this except as the authorization. So when I was using the authorization header for this pat or the token, if I click on test, I get this 203 message. It's actually not an error. It's like the system has processed it, but still it is throwing a non-authoritative error. So, so I just Googled it and I found that this might be either due to a missing path or an incorrect path format. So what I went is I went to the HTTP request again and I clicked on create request. Instead of authorization, I just gave this as accept and just clicked on save. I think it's done. I'm going to quickly test it. Voila, it is created. And let's go to our project and let's come to the dashboard. Yeah, you can see how are you. This is the ID which got created for our test run. For our test run, I'm going to close this. Let me open it. And this is the one. This is the 16. And here we go. This is the 16. Now that our REST message has been set up, we need to trigger this message whenever an incident is created in our ServiceNow. We can do this with a business rule or a script include. For our use case, I have already created a business rule which will be triggered after the record insertion, and these conditions must be met. Let's go ahead and check the advanced section. And so the script will call the REST message and it will go ahead and create the work item on the Azure DevOps, and the corresponding ID will be updated to our incident correlation ID field. So let's go ahead and test it out. Let's go ahead and let's create a new incident. So I'm going to select the color as able tutor, and I'm going to select our configuration item here, and I'm going to set the impact to 1 and urgency to 1, and I'm going to select the infrastructure support as our assignment group, and I'm going to give here something. So please fix the DevOps server by rebooting it. Please, yeah, I will just give something like a test, and I'm going to submit this record. So you can see our correlation ID has been updated with 23. This means our REST message was successful. A work item task was created on our DevOps. So let's go ahead and quickly confirm that. Let's come to our DevOps and I'm going to click on work items and I'm going to refresh this page. And yes, you can see it here. Voila. So to summarize, we configured an outbound REST message in ServiceNow to communicate with our Azure DevOps using the REST API. We set up the necessary authentication, the headers, the request body to map the incidents from ServiceNow to Azure DevOps work items. We triggered the integration using a business rule and tested it successfully. So this approach provides a flexible and a powerful way to integrate ServiceNow and Azure DevOps even when the Microsoft plugin is unavailable or unsuitable for your environment. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions or need further assistance, please feel free to drop a comment below and do not forget to subscribe for more tutorials. See you in the next video. Ta-ta, bye-bye.